Hello, Eric. Good morning. You're on mute.
Yeah, thank you for that. Hi,
Hello,
Sam and
Jack.
Jack.
Jack is also on mute.
The way it comes up.
All right.
It's a good
Hey,
default. Yeah,
good to see you again, Eric. It's been,
yeah, good to see you. Think
were you
we'll
here
take
last
it.
week? I think you were
I
here
think I
one day last week,
was.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
Sunday, a
I
Saturday.
recall that.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And Jack, how have you been in the last 166 hours?
Still kicking.
Kicking. Okay.
Linda is coming home from San Francisco today, and right now Temecula is in Tule fog.
Where's that?
Were you ever here when we had fog here and we were above the fog, Jack? Do you recall that?
I do recall that. We would go out to the edge of the cliff and just look out at the fog. Yes.
I love that. That
Yeah.
is a huge reason I'm here. I love that. And Eric, how have you been in the 167 to 168 hours since?
I'm doing well. I did have a little bit of a cold, but I'm over that now. Had it rested out. Yeah.
How do you get a
Cold.
cold?
Um, if it's too cold outside and you're walking fast, and then you go to a class where a fan is blowing on you, then
That'll do it.
yep.
So do you take plenty of vitamin D and zinc?
Yeah, vitamin D I do. Zinc I got lozenges when I had the cold.
Yeah, well, I just found that taking 50 milligrams of zinc daily really puts a clamp on colds and flus.
Hmm.
That and vitamin D.
Yeah,
There's a large, sorry.
I rarely get sick. It was just a combination of the weather and yeah, just the situation.
For me, it's like a three-stage thing. It's always starts in the nose and goes to the throat, where I have a sore throat, and then it ends with a cough. Those are the three stages of cold for me.
And one thing I remember reading in a book, a sick singer is an unemployed singer.
You're right.
Was Bob Dylan ever sick? You can't tell, right? I can't tell. Hey, there's a large segment of Asian population that believes that having fans blow directly on you is bad for your health. So if you have a fan in the home, it's not supposed to blow directly on you.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's what a lot of people there believe. I, on the other hand, when it's hot, I love sitting right in front of the fan.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, any interesting things come up this week that you'd like to talk to, or anything from your backlog?
Backlog.
Yes.
What's that?
Um, it's good that you don't have any. That means you're unencumbered by anything, unweighted down for the future. So, Eric, I heard on
Yeah.
NPR today, just as a small thing in passing, I
Mhm.
think it's either called Legacy Box or Legacy Thoughts.
Yep.
And it sounded very similar to the idea that you and I had talked about a couple months ago.
Well, I know Legacy Box, you send them your videotapes and whatever you want preserved, and they'll
Yeah,
digitize it all. And
yeah,
actually, I was just doing some of that at home because when I cleaned out my parents' place, I had videotapes of my nephews, things that my brother gave them. That see, parents hold on to all this stuff, so and they hardly ever played it, so it was in good condition. So I was able to put it on DVD now. When my nephew was born and his bar mitzvah at age 13, so that was all videotape. And but now what do I do with that media? Do I bribe people with it? Yeah.
Well, it's good that you're familiar with it because I still think that the idea that you and I kicked around is still a bit different. Jack, the idea was while I'm still kicking, as you say, I could still be blogging, but blogging for myself and potentially blogging for a future date on which, let's say, my son or my daughters could actually hear or listen or view this particular blog. So it's not meant for immediate consumption, but the idea is I would sit down in the morning and I'd say, hey, this morning I had some cereal and, I didn't feel like making bacon. My hips were a little bit sore. I didn't do as much stretching as I wanted to, but I was thinking about the birthday from 10 years ago and it reminded me of this. So it's this kind of rolling stream of consciousness or as carefully prepared as you would like it to be, and that this would just be something you could compile on a regular basis, whether it's daily, hourly, weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever. Okay, and you can add to it, photographs, audio, video, whatever, and that let's say I stop kicking one day, then the service would actually on some delta T send a notice to named individuals that I might want to have access to some of this trove of thoughts or utterances or gibberish. So that was the idea I was kicking around with Eric a few months ago. Fairly simple to implement, but I thought, this would actually be something that would actually be more longitudinal in a family history and with more and more people representing a larger population of the larger percentage of the population, I thought they might actually value something pedagogical like this. Now, I could be completely wrong, but anyway, that's a hypothesis, and it's a simple set of use cases that I was kicking around with Eric. So that was the idea. Eric, did we ever come up with a name for that? I don't
No,
know
we
that we did.
didn't. But what
Yeah.
I want to mention is your idea is very different than Legacy Box because
Yes.
they just digitize, you get back a flash drive or whatever,
Right.
and you have to do the indexing. And I
Yeah.
think indexing is the tricky part of this. I'm finding with all my stuff. So, like, what do I want to do with this? I could chop it up into segments. Like, this is my dad, this is my sister-in-law's parents who are no longer here, and I could collect them index by name or but then I want other indexes as well and I'm struggling with it.
So rather than thinking of it as indexes, why not just use tags? That seems like
Maybe.
the common solution to that problem. Folders used to be it. So it's either folders or indexes or tags or search terms, or categories, they all try to do the same thing, but tags seem to be fairly simple and fairly understandable. Jack knows all about this from Topic Quest as well. So
The
anyway,
thing
Jack,
the thing
yeah,
with
that was,
tags is you do need to define a taxonomy of your
That
tags, right?
that's the key.
Hmm.
yeah,
It turns out it's a
disambiguation.
folksonomy because it's not necessarily rooted in science, but at least it's taxonomic in nature.
So like the person creating it should do a taxonomy and then everybody who gets a copy should do their folksonomies and based on what they find as they use
Right.
the taxonomy to navigate.
Yeah.
Because, like, I just found on a videotape something my dad did where he was interviewed, and I never heard it before, and now I have it, a digital copy of it. So, how
There
do I
you
index
go.
that? And
There you
yeah,
go. In fact, I find myself doing this on a daily basis. Whatever little snippets of things, I actually post to a social media hub, but I post it private for no one else's consumption.
yeah,
The thought being at some point, somebody's going to have access to my account, after I stop kicking, as Jack says. Okay. And then that person either can delete it all, hopefully not, or say, hey, you know, this is what he was thinking on Saturday. This is what he was thinking last month. This is what he was thinking last year. and hopefully that would then get some possible relevance. Anyway, so much
The
for that idea.
the other thing is, who will really care about what you were thinking? And that's the tricky thing I can't figure
Yeah,
out.
because some families don't care. I'm I'm sad to realize that a lot of families don't care. I'm not crying. You're not crying. Okay, all right. So that was my one little thing that I happened to run across this morning. And before I go to my list, anything else you guys came up with or encountered this past week?
Well, something related to that topic, like I essentially resurrected this online class that I built in 2005. So I could give you a link and you just need a plugin and you could use this. And it's a remedial music theory class. But who cares that this exists or not? You know, uh, I mean, it may have uses. Maybe some retirees who I come in contact with may want to use a little bit of it, but it was designed for a purpose and it was decommissioned. So the same thing with old systems, like all the systems that I worked on when I first started my career, they're in boxes and they're decommissioned. And maybe it's a good thing that they're dead and nobody sees that crappy code. The
And
thing
you resurrected it. Why?
Why for my just to see if it's possible. And now that I see the technology exists where it can run an old applet, if you put a plugin in your browser, that was cool because it was only running on one laptop that I had been holding
Hmm.
on to, and now I could show it off uh, if whoever's interested. But yeah, it's 2005 technology in Java, so I mean, I stripped out. It used to be like managing all the class records, so you could have the students and taking tests and tracking all that, but that's not needed anymore. So the important part is anyone who really wants to learn music theory and practice, they can use this and practice all they want without worrying about taking a test or being graded. Yeah.
Now, I have actually encountered at least one other such, and I believe there's probably many such services already on the internet.
Sure.
What's special about this one from 2005?
It's because I built it with professors. We would go to
Ah,
diners
that's
on a
it. Got it.
weekend
Got
and
it.
has
Got it.
their pedagogy.
Got it. Got it.
Yep.
Got it.
So that they built the web pages. They went through the sequence of topics the way they teach it. And it's pretty good if you really want to dig into tetrachords and intervals and
Oh, so
whatever.
you
Yeah.
got really pretty deep then. You could
Yeah.
actually say, identify that diminished seventh, and then you'd
Yeah.
have to do it. Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty cool in Java with the mouse and everything. You could do a lot of stuff, and it's really an extension of what they used to have on the Plato terminals, if you can remember back then.
No, I don't.
Plato was a huge system for education courseware that was on a control data mainframe.
I remember I never got access to it. Access
Right,
to it was so tightly controlled
right.
that only select people could get access to it.
Yeah, universities paid a lot for these expensive terminals with
Yeah.
plasma displays, and it delivered courseware. So there was music courseware at the time, and
Yeah.
the University of Delaware was involved in a lot of that, and they even had a device to make it play notes in harmony from the Plato terminal. And I've
Hmm.
seen one of those devices. It's in a computer museum now. But yeah, just seeing where we've been and where we are, and you always lose something with newer systems. the effort that went into the construction, there's always something lost when a new one replaces it.
That reminds me of something else that was not as early as Plato, but it was, I think, in the following decade, which was, before all these fancy search engines, there was dialogue. Did you ever
Oh, I
use
remember.
dialogue?
Yes, I did in high school.
Do you remember any of
Yeah,
those commands, those dialogue commands?
I remember sitting down at a teletype, typing in commands and seeing it print my answer. Yeah,
Yeah,
do the research and look up
slash blah
things.
blah 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 slash blah 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 slash. That
Yeah,
was
it was
hard.
crazy.
That was hard to
Hmm.
learn.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's when librarians could say, "I'll do that for you," because they've already learned the dialogue command language.
Hmm.
Ay, ay, ay.
But people have invested so much of their lives in a lot of this obsolete technology, which served its purposes at the time. But am looking back and seeing what, uh, how much people have invested serving the beast.
Yeah. I mean, one perspective I have on that is early on when I first was introduced to the Bible, somebody said, if you want to look up a certain thing, there's this other reference where you can actually look up that word and it'll find you every reference of that word in the Bible. And that
Hmm.
word begins with C. You probably know what it is.
Concordance.
Exactly. I'm
Concordance.
not I'm not a Bible scholar, okay?
That's all right.
So I thought, wow, somebody actually spent their entire life doing this. And now this can be done in like half a millisecond. Not that that was time wasted because that was way back then, but it's really eye-opening to what humans do contribute at any given time
Yeah, and
and
just
how
go.
that can get
You,
obsoleted.
yeah, just go to a university library and walk around, and you'll see all the minds that put their stuff on paper and published, went through all the hassle of publishing, and a lot of it's not even used anymore.
Yeah, I remember spending what, days, possibly
Yeah.
weeks in middle school learning from the teacher how to use a card catalog.
Hmm. Yeah, so you could appreciate the effort that went into making that card catalog. People spending hours typing up those little cards and sorting them and getting the information correct. I don't know how important correctness is anymore these days.
Oh, it's actually being actively undermined, as we all know.
Yep.
I'm seeing so many videos on YouTube saying this fabulous new development, and then it seems too good to be true. And you do some research, and there's no other reference to it ever. And you got to sort of be a little bit cautious because somebody out there, maybe a very coordinated set of somebodies, is really trying to spread a lot of disinformation
Hmm.
on all segments of the spectrum,
Yep.
right, left, middle, all of it. I feel a rant coming on. Stop me.
Go for it.
Okay, I'll just say two words. Okay, this is rant number 46.b. Eventual transparency. Uh, yeah, I think I should come up with a card catalog, Dewey Decimal System of all my rants.
Yeah, index all those YouTube videos. We could go back.
What
Well, so
would
I'm gonna
make
go ahead, Jack.
what would make a card catalog more powerful is if it could be annotated.
You know what? I had a conversation with Brewster Kale on that. He had the archive.org. I said, what we really need to be able to do is impose, and at that time I used the word wiki. You and I have probably used the word, topic graph or knowledge graph or something else on top of it. And say, now let regular Joe Schmoes like you and I put our own thoughts and annotate the raw material, which is at archive.org. So I can say, oh, that Wikipedia article about Doug, it didn't include this. And let me just add that. And that's then filterable. And in someone's view spec, they could choose to see my thoughts or Jack's thoughts or your thoughts or not. Yeah, I do think that that is hugely valuable. That's how civilization progresses, right? Each person comes and adds, and I think Doug's term was anneals new knowledge on top of the old knowledge.
And the scientific method helps weed out the crap. Yeah. So there's standards of scholarship.
Scientific method plus an understanding of probability and reasoning
Mhm.
and logic.
So is there any hope for the future generation to learn that?
It's diminishing, in
Yeah.
my view. Or here's a semi-optimistic view. You take the bell curve, right?
Hmm.
We see that on the bottom, this is certainly, flattening out towards the non-productive end. Possibly there's a segment that's also flattening out towards the top end. People with access to resources, people with means, people with connections, people with wealth can actually take advantage of things like AI, supercomputers, quantum computing, networks, universities, etc. And sort of hopefully this graph is broadening and not just sliding towards the bottom. That's I can't
Yeah.
prove it, but that's one possible semi-optimistic view.
Well, I think it depends on the motivations of the people, the researchers, and the companies sponsoring them, the universities sponsoring them. So, like, if it's driven by money, you're going to get a lot of false research. And yeah, because where is the integrity that used to be found?
Okay, let me ask you very personally, how do you two now assess the influence of money on the integrity of Harvard University?
It's lost its trust.
I don't think you have to single out Harvard. There's just about any institution, be it educational or be it for profit, that really is fundamentally an organism all based on cash flow.
But Harvard was one of the first to cave to Trump, whereas other universities, the University of Washington, for one example, chose not to. And there are others. As far as I know, Stanford did not cave either.
Well, I don't recall that Harvard actually caved. As I understand it, they're still fighting.
Yeah, but their initial position was yes, 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 we will cave to you.
It may be, but as I understand it, they've amassed an enormous armamentarium of legal expertise.
You would think if any if any university had that in their network, Harvard
It
would
would
be
be
in.
them. Yes, that's the
Exactly.
point.
So why was that not just immediately called forth? Why did it have to wait such a long time? I got to let somebody in.
Okay.
Nope, dog's in. Sorry. Yeah, I was very disappointed when Harvard did that. And ran across another thing, if I could change the subject. It's a graphic that to me looks suspiciously biased. And it's surprising to me, actually. I just sent it in the chat. ran across that this week.
Highest average. Okay, countries. I see it.
And it's from this place called Geo Simplified. I don't know anything about them.
Is IQ even a valid measure these days? Or
That's,
is it
of course, the question, right? But you look at these countries like Mongolia, Armenia, and you don't see countries like Norway, you don't see countries like the US, uh, and most of the other European countries are not represented. So I thought this was rather curious.
average IQ? So if you have a smaller population, you could have a higher average.
But China has a huge population,
Right.
and
Okay.
China's in the number one position. Maybe this came out of China. No, it didn't
Maybe.
come out of China because then Taiwan would not be number two,
Ah, okay.
right?
Makes sense.
Right. It wouldn't have come out of Taiwan either because then China wouldn't come out number one. Although, no, I'm obviously joking here. Okay, I'm sure these people were very objective, so I'm entirely joking.
And where did you find this chart?
Clearly on some social media site.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, that
And
was
do
just
they cite any sources for their information? That's
yeah. I didn't double click on it. I just thought
right.
for later study, I might actually look into it.
Right.
So where's the number two?
What do you mean? Where's the number two?
I see a 11333.
Simply because China and Taiwan they say are tied. So I guess one of them will be one of them will be two, and then three, four, five are tied. South Korea, Japan, and Iran.
So is
Well,
it
it's
date
interesting
back?
because
Yeah.
Russia's at 103, Mongolia's at 103, Armenia's at 103, and Australia's at 103, but Australia is 10.
Yeah, there's a faulty academics work right there. Toss this out.
I think it's bullshit.
Bad work. Bad work.
And I think if you think about how roughly 50% of the US fell for Donald Trump, we can't possibly have a high IQ, average
You don't.
IQ.
I think it's very legit that we're off that list.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Now think about what would be the purpose of somebody publishing that chart. What's their motivation if it's not purely scientific?
Well, let me see if I can find out anything about Geosimplified. Geosimplified.org. Geospatial science. Powered by WordPress. Not a lot of testimonials here. Looks like a fairly new site. Anyway.
And really, what is their sample size?
And they didn't even lay out their name on their site properly. The D is word wrapped to the next line.
And they're using WordPress. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And the WordPress tag is still there. Okay, something more interesting and more serious, if I may introduce another one. This was a opening remarks made by the president of Finland at a recent meeting. I think this is where they're reconfirming their economic support for Ukraine. It is so refreshing to hear a national leader speak in complete sentences and in paragraphs that actually follow another sensibly. And he had a very good global perspective on this. So I just thought that was worth sharing in case you want to hear somebody really speak well about what the world needs. It's people like this guy who give me hope that some people actually are steering the bus well. But Finland is a small country, but they're clearly very influential. I actually didn't realize that Finland only recently joined the is I think the EU, right? Because they were prevented from doing so while Russia still had some influence.
I think they joined NATO.
NATO, yeah, NATO. Right, sorry, not the EU.
Yeah. Which really pissed off Putin, of course.
Yeah. I still can't believe Trump's behavior towards Zelensky in those various different meetings that they had. What a disgrace. I mean, basically just taking a ceasefire and peace plan from Putin himself and saying, here's my plan, do it by Wednesday or Friday or whatever he said. The guy could not be more transparent to be a puppet of Putin. Oh, speaking of which, we're 31 minutes into this, and I haven't even mentioned the trove of files that got released this past several days.
How many pages?
I don't know, but I only found one thing kind of amusing about this. That is that the redaction wasn't really a redaction,
Hmm.
right? You could copy paste all of this stuff and see the redacted pieces. And so people have been coming up with some fairly interesting posts. All of which is again sad to say that, had we believed the women in the first place, why are we waiting for these Epstein files to be released? The women already know who the perpetrators are. All this is corroboration. But to me, it's even eye-opening how influential Israel has been in US politics. I knew it
That's
had influence, but I didn't realize the extent of the influence. Did you guys?
no, I've seen it. I've been watching it.
Did you know before?
Well, when you watched people like Jimmy Carter fire somebody because he was talking to Palestinians, you kind of knew that there was a whole shitload of stuff, bad shit going on.
Wait, really? Who are you referring to?
His Secretary of State or some dude. Um, I think what happened to him is he got killed in an airplane crash, but he was reprimanded for having spoken to the Palestinians.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, and warn me if I'm again going down disinformation. But I heard a story that Jimmy Carter, when he visited Israel one time, said he wanted to go visit Palestine or Gaza, whichever. Anyway, and Israel said, uh, "We cannot guarantee your safety if you go. We're not going to be able to protect you." So without Israeli forces, he went, and he was not harmed.
So it wasn't Carter. I think it was Clinton.
Clinton, I believe,
Yeah,
but
it was
Carter
Clinton.
Carter was way more
Yeah, no, it was
enlightened.
Clinton. That's
Yes.
right. And in fact, they made a movie that played to that game, um, using different variants of those who were involved. Um, I cannot remember the name of the guy that played the Clinton guy, and there was a woman who played the Hillary person, and he knocks up some young uh, uh, black girl, and his Secretary of State noticed that he had switched the blood test when they were looking for paternity. So she committed suicide. John Travolta played the Clinton guy, played him very well.
Well, let me ask a question. Trump's inauguration, believe it or not, was less than 12 months ago. In 12 months, he's done things that completely destroy America's trustability around the world. Question I put on the table: is it recoverable? Or do you care?
It's going to be difficult.
If there's a shred of possibility, what might that path be to regain the world's trust?
Um, I don't know because there's always going to be the MAGA.
I think money interests are always going to play a part, and depending on what happens to the dollar, we'll see what happens around the world. I mean, the world has to come to a reckoning of the debt that we're all in.
So, wasn't it last week that we went over Project 2028 and some of the bullet points therein?
Yep.
I think key among the restoration of trust is thorough prosecution and imprisonment of Trump and all his minions. Cabinet secretaries, press secretaries, all the way down to Proud Boys and ICE, all of them.
That'll leave a vacuum. Who's going to fill the vacuum then?
Doesn't matter. Even rats, or mice are better than what's in there now. I would trust a rodent more than I trust anybody in that administration. See, Trump didn't factor in that, once all of this happened, the EU and other organizations like BRICS and, the EDU, the new EDU, they're going to now set up economic networks themselves. They're not going to buy F-25s or 35s or 16s from the US anymore. They're going to buy, stuff from France. And the pharmaceutical industry, same thing. Energy industry, the same thing. Food, the same thing. The US wanted to be, quote unquote, on an island like Trump wanted with all of his tariffs. We get it. Nobody now is going to have nearly as much commerce with us. It's going to dry up. So, what's that going to do to industry and the workforce here in this country? And Jack mentioned it, or you mentioned it also, Eric. Once the US currency is no longer trusted, that's going to get completely devalued internationally.
Do any
So
of you follow the futures markets? I haven't, but that's probably where you would want to look at futures.
it's not going to happen today, but the long term trend is the dollar is going down. Because Warren Buffett, I heard him say, what was propping up the dollar was that everybody wanted to buy from our military industrial complex and our technology, industries, and they had to buy in U.S. dollars. And that's what's propping up the U.S. dollar. Now that demand is going away, that's no longer no longer going to prop up the value of the US dollar. This is Warren Buffett saying it, it's not me.
Film was primary colors.
Thank you.
I just gave the Wikipedia link.
New item for the stack.
And it was in fact written originally anonymously by the guy that covered the Clinton campaign.
This is where Travolta was playing Clinton.
He was playing Clinton, and and rather than kill off his Secretary of State in an airplane crash, his first Secretary of State in an airplane crash, um, somewhere in Azerbaijan or someplace like that. Um, it 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 gets transfigured to somebody else committing suicide.
Have you guys heard of this thing called the European Defense Union? A redefinition of NATO?
No, I haven't.
Ah, does that mean that U.S. will not be in NATO anymore?
Well, Trump is saying he's going to pull out of NATO. He's not going to, pay for NATO anymore. So NATO is themselves taking steps to assure its persistent viability. Now, what I heard is that they're recruiting Australia, Japan, South Korea, at least one or two other countries, so that it's not just Europe anymore.
So it's going to leave the U.S. isolated.
Exactly. That's what Trump was trying to create all along. And Europe was planning for it. They saw it coming.
I have a feeling the nature of warfare is going to change a lot, given with AI and hacking and the intelligence. Yeah, if people are in the dark too much, who knows what can happen.
Well, the nature of warfare now is moving over to
Mhm.
drones and AI. If you go on
Killing at a
YouTube, you'll
distance.
find a shitload of videos of the clever ways the Ukrainians are taking out whole railroads, whole nuclear bombers, all kinds of shit with sneak attacks by floods of drones. They just flood the zone so that there's absolutely nothing that the Russians can do about it because there's just too damn many of them. And they use spread spectrum so that the Russians cannot lock into their control signals.
Yeah, so you destroy infrastructure that you take years and decades to rebuild.
Oil refineries, all manner of shit. Yes.
Bridges.
Remembering the movie The Bridge Over the River Kwai.
Yeah, I remember that. God damn, that was fun.
So in these course of weeks and months, my resolve to find someplace else to live has gotten even stronger. Not that I'm not willing to fight, but I'm willing to fight from someplace else.
But it still strikes me that that it's entirely really unlikely that ICE would ever manage to come all the way up to your island just to take you out.
Well, it'll be a matter of time. But you notice they start in Chicago, they go to Portland, they're going, systematically and methodically, and they have a huge budget and they have a quota,
And
tens of millions of people.
I'm seeing ads on YouTube to join ICE.
Yeah, $50,000 bonus or something, and a
Right,
starting salary of
right.
100,000,
Yep.
and yet we can't afford to feed anybody or fix roads or build rails. But we can give $40 billion to was it Venezuela, Argentina, which country,
And we can
and untold billions still to Israel.
and we can
Well,
afford AI data centers. Yeah.
I'm certainly seeing evidence, at least through my lens, that MAGA is falling apart, and that there's two factions, those who are still strongly behind Trump and those who simply believe in the conservative game without Trump.
Does it matter though? Because number one, they're not getting any more intelligent, and number two, they're still allowed to vote.
They're allowed to vote, but I think a lot of them are not going to vote for Trump. Now, the problem is that the Dems are going to scatter and mess up the field because they're going to have so many assholes trying to run for president that the field will just get shaken up. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the jerk that runs California right now.
Oh, he's the only one seemingly taking a strong stand against
Well,
Trump, though,
he's the only one that stood up to Trump and is making the loudest noises. He's doing all the right things, but he's not the right guy.
based on what?
Well, his behavior as mayor of San Francisco, mostly, and his behavior as governor.
So I'm not that familiar with it since I'm no longer there, so I don't read their newspapers there. What has he done that's been objectionable?
Well, the Democrats were slated to win the battle with George Bush when the George W. Bush, when he decided to start marrying gay people, irregardless of the law, in San Francisco. And so the Fox News guy, I forgot his name, went straight to Fox News and said, "Is this what you want for a president?" And George W. Bush won that year.
You're confusing me.
Karl Rove.
'Cause I didn't think Newsom had been around that long. Are you sure you're not thinking of Jerry Brown?
I don't that the details. I'm an old person. The details are pretty much gone. But what I remember was there was a time in history when all the polls showed the Democrats ahead in the POTUS race, and and then Newsom decided it would be really cool to start marrying gay people. His timing was just really awful. Then you have to remember during lockdown, he goes out and brings a shitload of people to a big restaurant. Boy, did that burn him. Very
I don't
few
know.
people that I know in California like him.
They seem minor to the offenses on the other side.
And then Kamala is, of course, going to run.
The, the fact that she could be propped up when Biden stepped down or was forced out, to me says that the entire Democratic Party nomination process, is a bunch of bull. It's basically ignoring all the primaries that ever took place.
That's everybody kind of knew that.
Yes,
All of my friends said they should have had a legitimate primary. But at the very least, when the Palestinians applied to speak at her inauguration, she denied it.
yep, that was a
Again,
problem.
Israel pulling her strings.
That's
You
right.
kind of knew she was doomed at that point.
Yep.
I would say that Congress is more important than the presidency in terms of elections.
Well, so here's the thing. If Trump is not going to even the headlines today in both New York Times and Washington Post say that the uh, Kennedy and other Trump officials are not going to go and testify at Congress anymore. If if Trump turns his back on Congress, it doesn't matter. Now, what they can do is impeach him and actually get him thrown out of office if we get both houses.
You have midterm elections coming up.
That's what I'm counting on.
Mhm.
Fingers, big fingers and toes crossed on that one.
Like I haven't forgotten our $1.25 bet. But with the number of Republicans seemingly resigning, vacating their chairs, doesn't
Yep,
that
they are.
practically give the majority to the Dems for the midterms?
Well, they most of the guys that are vacating their seats are in seats that are so gerrymandered in that no matter who tries to take that seat, it's going to be a Republican. All we can hope is that Trump has broken the will of the re many Republican voters, and so it wouldn't matter. But
Just as
apparently,
a matter, sorry.
California is going through with the redistricting, and there was a a lament in one of the newspapers, Sacramento Bee or something, that a whole region of Northern California Republicans are now going to be represented by a Democrat. And San Diego, my area, is slated to lose the carpetbagger, a Republican that we have for a congressman. He's going to go.
Well, that's playing the game the way the Texans were playing it.
I'm thinking about game theory, how you would apply.
Mhm. Yeah, see, if you're gonna say Texas is going to be gerrymandered and all the southern states, uh, you can't criticize California for playing that game either, right? Yeah, it shouldn't be that way, but it's playing the game without a hand tied behind your back. Yeah, it's fighting dirty, but the Republicans are fighting dirty.
And see, part of the game is all the social media, the same thing that Cambridge Analytica did.
Yeah.
Yeah, the micro targeting. It's a mess.
By the way, there's another video this morning where I saw that a reporter had asked Peter Thiel, "Hey, is it true that Israel has all the Palantir data and is using it against Gaza?" And Thiel just, but basically was just tongue-tied and couldn't say anything.
Mm.
Basically saying, "Well, that's not my area. That somebody else is handling that." Yeah, right.
Isn't it all in Utah now?
The data, I'm sure it's everywhere. I'm sure some of it's in Israel, some of it's in South Africa. Yeah, I saw one report that said the Epstein files have been backed up, and there are copies in Belarus and Israel and Russia. Belarus was an interesting country to come up in that context. I know hardly anything about Belarus. You guys know anything about Belarus?
No,
The only other time, in fact, the only other time I had any context of Belarus was when I first started working at an extremely um, highly classified project in the military industrial complex, which I used to work for, and a company called TRW. One of the other people on the project who held the same high classified security clearances, and probably more than I did, was a fellow who was born in Belarus.
Jesus,
Yeah.
that's scary.
I never worked directly with a guy, but I knew him. Yeah, I knew him, but we weren't like close. And of course, you know, he had to be friendly and affable, which he was. But I did not know him well. But it was surprising to me that in such a highly classified context and project, this guy was born in one of the Soviet states.
There were spies on the Manhattan Project, and they weren't found out until much later.
But it was common knowledge that this guy was born in Belarus.
Okay.
He wasn't trying to hide it. I'm not saying anything bad about these people. I just thought it was surprising given the political climate of the times. This is like mid to late 80s or possibly early 90s. the way, my class is not taking place today. You guys are not obliged to stay any longer, but I don't have to
No,
have a hard
I
cutoff
I
today
do
at nine
have to
o'clock.
run.
Yeah, I noticed it was 9 o'clock already.
Yep. See you all.
Okay, Jack. Nice seeing you.
Have a good week. Hopefully, see you tomorrow. Ah,
Well, let's take it day by day. We got a new year coming up. So,
yeah, this is going to be another slow week. Hopefully, I can do a lot of things that have been on the backlog of things to do.
yeah. How's
Okay,
your
Eric,
moving? Your
you want to
moving
hang
going all
out
right?
and chat,
Well,
or do you
just
want
just briefly asking how's your moving and packing, unpacking going?
to? Did I tell you about a 40-foot storage container?
Wow. Yeah,
Because
that's
I've
a
been
real.
paying for a 10 by 10, storage unit, about 12 miles down the road,
Yep.
150 bucks a month.
Hmm.
So I figured, well, I don't want to keep doing that. So I just bit the bullet, bought a 40-foot storage container. It was
Hmm.
guaranteed to be watertight. And now I have to prepare it so that it can take, some good storage boxes. So that should take the equivalent of four of those storage units,
Hmm.
which I
Yeah,
will need. I keep most of the stuff around here.
sure. Yeah, it's
And
taken
I,
me close to a year just to figure out where things went after I moved, just to get a handle on, oh, there's my classical music CDs now. Oh, cool, nice to see them again. You know.
yeah, I actually do know for a fact that when I boxed up my apartment in 1987 and moved into the first house I purchased with my ex-wife, some of those boxes I still have and have not been unpacked since.
That's right. That's what happens. Yeah. I find a
Yeah,
little bit each week or so. I find things. Oh yeah, that's where it went. Okay, cool. Nice to know it. But I see
yeah,
sentimental attachments to certain things as I go through it,
yes,
and not ready to
yeah. I have
part.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have a fantasy that every weekend I'll go through like 5 or 10 of those boxes, and that never happens.
I say just one a week is enough.
Well, then that's going to take at least how many years? 10,
Right,
20 years?
right. Yeah. All right.
I
Well,
literally have like 200 or 300 boxes in that storage unit,
yep,
just right there alone. Anyway, all right,
yep.
Eric, thanks for showing up. I have more items to bring up for tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll see you.
Maybe I'm
I
not
can't
sure
wait.
yet. We'll see.
Okay,
Take it
no
easy.
problem. See you. Bye bye.
Bye, Sam.